silence that I can't live without. My sunshine is the light. Can't live without rain. I need you in this game. Take me out when I'm down. 'Cause with you I'm safe and sound.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the third day. And it is actually the last day of the first AEJ UKI SLA Research International Conference. Yesterday, 20 more research projects were presented, and also yesterday we were able to listen to two other plenary speakers. The first plenary speaker yesterday was Dr. Erickson O. Alieto from the Western Mindanao State University. He presented his research on learners' attitude and technological competence, wherein he told everyone else that we just don't need to focus on learners' attitude and technological competence because these two are just two of the many things that we need to consider in this time of pandemic because there are also things that we need to check like internet infrastructure and the digitalization of materials that universities or schools use. And the next speaker, or the second speaker yesterday, Dr. Judith Hanks from the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom, talked about the exploration of the new normal in educational practice, wherein she mentioned that we need to constantly engage in our struggle to understand our classrooms even in normal times. And now it's the new normal. Of course, the new normal struggle is amplified. And in order for us to understand the new normal, we need to ask questions and explore possibilities. So we thank our two able and respected plenary speakers yesterday for their speeches or for their presentation of the research projects and for sharing with us the research results. And this afternoon, we will listen to two more plenary speakers. Okay, our first plenary speaker this afternoon is an associate professor at the School of Social Sciences and Education at the Mapua University, Manila, Philippines. He obtained his PhD in Applied Linguistics in 2018 from De La Salle University, the Philippines' top higher education institution in the field of linguistics, based on the 2021 Quacquarelli-Siemens Work University rankings. He also has a bachelor's degree in journalism and a master's in applied linguistics from the Centro Escolar University. He is currently the president of the Speech Communication Organization of the Philippines Incorporated and the internal vice president of the Association of Education Researchers and Trainers, or ASERT. He has published research primarily on the psychology of language learning and teaching, including 14 articles in Scopus Index journals to date. He has also presented research in local and international conferences in Manila, Davao City, Philippines, Tokyo and Nagoya, Japan, Seoul, Korea, Hong Kong, Bali, Indonesia, Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, Macau, Phnom Penh in Cambodia. And his most recent article explores the influences of goal orientation and language anxiety on engineering students' speaking and writing task performances in English. His upcoming book chapters will appear in Routledge and Lexington edited volumes in 2021 and 2022. Let us all give a round of applause to our fifth speaker in our international conference, Dr. Edward J. Quinto from the Mapua University, Manila, Philippines.
Thank you very much, Dr. Medriano, for the very kind introduction. And I wish to greet everybody a very pleasant afternoon. It's very hot and humid here in Manila these days. How about there, wherever you are? I'm very happy to be joining you this afternoon. A break from my usual routine, which is doing online classes and doing research. I mean, since the pandemic has started, I miss traveling. I would, often go travel to present papers abroad, but this is something different. So I really want to thank the committee for inviting me this afternoon to do this plenary lecture. It's very timely, and I feel that it's also very relevant among linguistics researchers who are in the audience this afternoon. I do understand that most of the presenters and the audience in this conference are doing language research. And now something that I have heard very recently in the course of doing research, advising students doing their own research, is that in the time of COVID-19, it really is very difficult to shut our eyes on the realities on the ground. So if there is any opportunity for us to connect our research agenda on the context of in the context of the pandemic, let's take advantage of that opportunity in order for us to somehow pitch in our share in responding to the pandemic a little bit better. And this afternoon, for my plenary talk, I wish to share with you one research project that I recently engaged in, and that is a product of one of the research teams that I am advising, that I am mentoring back in the university. And I'm very happy to share with you the results, some of the preliminary results of this study on language choice in COVID-19 information materials, a language justice perspective. Let me just give you a little bit of a background, because you're going to be surprised later. The analysis that we made, well, at least the type of analysis and findings that I am going to share with you in this part of the research project, because it's from a bigger research project on sustainable development goals and language research, is in fact quite simple. So let me give you, I think where I should come from this afternoon is the value of the research. We need to understand the value of the study and how it allows us to be relevant as language researchers, as language teachers in our ongoing fight against COVID-19. And this is very timely because just yesterday, the Times Higher Education rankings, THE rankings of the United States, released its rankings of Philippine universities insofar as these universities are compliant with or are productive when it comes to research and extension and instruction that are connected with the Sustainable Development Goals. We know that the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are 17 goals that allows us to move forward towards a sustainable future. And very recently in my university, we have been encouraged to align our research into this sustainable development goals. And I was saying just yesterday, the Times Higher Education rankings listed my university as one of the top 5 universities in the country that are most compliant and most productive when it comes to the kind of research and outreach programs that we do that are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Just a little background of that background of the study. This study is anchored on the UN SDGs, particularly SDG number 16, which is titled shortly as peace, justice, and strong institutions. And it gives us a longer description of that SDG as follows: promote peaceful, inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. I mean, if you are familiar with the SDGs, it's very easy for us to maybe connect our uh, language research as teachers with SDGs 4, 5, 6, SDGs on quality education for all, gender and society. But we've got to also think about how the kind of work that we do and that our research could possibly connected with some more that are not commonly connected or that are not commonly discussed when it comes to our situation as teachers, such as SDG number 16. What does a language teacher or a language researcher have to do with ensuring that there is peace, justice, and there are strong institutions in the world. And what is your role? What is our role in promoting peaceful and inclusive societies, particularly insofar as we live in a society, in a global society, and in a world that is really battered by the pandemic. So when we conceptualized this research project, which is, by the way, um, quite a support from the administration, we thought of connecting SDG 16 with language research. And in that note, we thought that we can talk about language justice in the time of COVID-19. A lot's already been said about how COVID a medical emergency. It's a healthcare emergency. And quite a number of people also talk about COVID-19 as an economic emergency because a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people have been more economically disadvantaged, and the impacts of COVID-19 on industries. A lot's already been said about COVID-19 as an environmental emergency insofar as the use of face masks, for example, and PPEs, and the materials that we need to use in order to stay safe during the time of the pandemic form part of the huge carbon footprint emission that's being produced these days. So a lot's been said about that already, but very little on COVID-19 as a